Tara. I am a person in long-term recovery. I'm here to share my experience, strength, and hope with you. Tell a little bit of my story. I started using back when I was 16. Every day I was starting to use meth. I self-medicated for to get past some things in my life. I experienced a death of a my relationship. My boyfriend had passed away when I was 15. I sat there with him while when he passed in the hospital. So I dealt with that with drugs and alcohol. And then I also was molested as a 14-year-old, and I also dealt with that with drugs and alcohol. That continued. I ended up dropping out of school in 10th grade. Um, Thought I would do it on my own. I'd get my GED before anybody else would graduate, but never happened. I ended up getting my GED not until long after. Um, I got kicked out of school. I got kicked out of my parents' house. They gave me the ultimatum: you either get out or you go to military school. And I said, I'm out. See you later. Um, Left, thought it would be easier on my own, started doing meth every day, lost myself, um, lived in my car for, it was 2 years. 1 year it was in the winter time. I kept myself warm I would turn my car on for 15 minutes with the heat blasting, turn it off, put the blankets over my head, and I'd sleep for 15 minutes and then have to do the whole thing over again. I did that all through the night. And I did that until I ended up pregnant with my first son, and lived in my car still while I was pregnant. And I was hungry and I was still using. Um, it wasn't until I was 5 months pregnant, I ran into my mom. Um, and she said, "You're pregnant?" And I said, "Yeah." And she says, "Why don't you come home?" So I went home. I was sober the rest of the time. I had a great pregnancy the rest of my time from 5 months on. Had my son, um, got a job, was working, was trying to do the right thing, but also being a single working mother, I was very tired, and I said, I know a way I can do this. And again, I relapsed. Um, and that's how I got through my day-to-day life until I couldn't get through it anymore. In 2016, I had a horrible car accident after a night of drinking. Um, I had decided that I needed to go and visit with my boyfriend again at the time. And I left my mother's house, got my son ready to go with her to church, and then I left. I didn't even make it 5 miles down the road before I wrecked into a tree. Um, I don't remember the accident. I was knocked unconscious. I was airlifted. I was expected to be a DOA, dead on arrival. I had a brain shear, which is your brain has two halves. I hit my head so hard, it split my brain. I had to learn how to walk again, how to talk again, how to feed myself. Um, and I was in the hospital for 2 months. When I got out of the hospital, my addiction was calling me. And I left my parents' house 3 days after getting home, could barely walk, couldn't bathe myself. I had to have people help me bathe. So I left my parents' house with some friends that I used to use with, and um, lost custody of my son, lost myself, um, and was pretty hard into my addiction at that point, and very depressed and very confused. I thought people were against me, and that was part of the brain damage and part of the addiction altogether. I then got home. I went back home after about 5 months of being on a run, went home. My parents gave me the ultimatum: if you want to see your son again, you'll go to rehab. So I did. I went to Clearbrook for 28 days, stayed the whole time, learned a lot, was excited about recovery, went home. I was sober for about 3 months, relapsed again, and started dating my drug dealer. And from that on, I was in my addiction. I was fully full in my addiction. Um, I my I was so lost in my addiction. We ended up getting married in Las Vegas 3 years after we got together. And it was only 2 years after that, Operation Crystal Ball happened, which is where I was woke up to a raid. There were DEA agents in our house. I was woke up to guns and shields in my bedroom yelling at me, telling me to get on the ground, get your hands in the air. And I was thinking, what do you want me to do? Um, it was the scariest moment of my life. Having the DEA agents tearing through your house, all of your personal belongings, everything torn apart. Um, and they took my husband. We were married at that time, and took my husband in, and he was in federal prison for quite a long time. Um, After the raid, I decided children and youth were involved. I lost custody of my son from them. Um, and I decided I knew what I needed to do. I knew from when I went to rehab what I needed to do to get myself back. Took myself over to rehab, got enrolled in an IOP program. Um, and that was the first time I got sober. And I carried that out for 5 years. I was sober for 5 years, 5 wonderful years. The one thing I did not get in check within those 5 years was my mental health. I did not address it. When I was 14, I was diagnosed with, back then it was called manic depression. Now it's known as bipolar. I have hypomania, bipolar type 1, and I never addressed it in those 5 years. So when my ex-husband got out of prison and said, I want to carry on, I want us to try this relationship sober, thought it was a good idea. Didn't have my mental health in check. Ended up getting pregnant with my second son, and I was bound and determined. I said, I'm going to do this pregnancy right. I'm not going to use, I'm not going to, nothing. It's going to be a healthy pregnancy. And it was. But my son was 3 months old when I relapsed again. Um, Postpartum, my mental health, my my self-image was very low, and it was very easy for me to relapse. Had stopped going to meetings. I had stopped, because I was complacent. I thought, I got it. I don't need these. I already know everything I need to know. It was that much easier for me to relapse. And I relapsed hard. And was, I relapsed for 3 years. Um, and it's true. This is a progressive disease. It gets worse each time. This time I was, I using IV. I had taught myself. I had thought, I can do this single mom, or not a single mom, I was a working mom. And I knew, okay, I know how I can be super mom, and I relapsed. Towards the end of this relapse, I had nothing. Lost custody of both my children. I had PFA on me. My ex put a PFA on me and put my youngest on the PFA, so I couldn't even see my son. I was the lowest I've ever gotten, to the point where I attempted suicide. And when that failed, I thought, okay, that was my sign. That was my sign. All right, I need help. And I called the crisis line, and they got me into treatment. And I went to treatment. I detoxed. My 10th day in the rehab, I had a heart attack at only 32 years old. I had a heart attack. My heart couldn't take it anymore. Even after being clean for 10 days, my body was like, you're not, because I wasn't eating, I wasn't drinking water, and I was just using. And my body couldn't take it anymore. And that was also a very scary moment for me. I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't feel right. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't speak. I couldn't do anything. And my blood pressure was through the roof. They called an ambulance. They took me in the ambulance to the hospital. I now have a little over 2.5 years. And in these 2.5 years, I have learned who I am. My family says, this is the Tara we knew back before you started using. The Tara that I didn't even remember who she was, and now I do. Um, I was always afraid to look to the future because who wants to look to a future of drama and heartache and trials and tribulations, and so I never looked into the future because I didn't want to have a future. Now I'm excited for the future. I'm excited to know what each day is going to bring me. I am thrilled, even to have these little stressors or these trials and tribulations. They don't seem as big as they were before. Um, I use my sober supports. I go to meetings. I take my daily inventory. I look back on the day and I say, okay, what problems did I have with anybody? And what part did I play in them? Because before I never thought of what part I played. I just thought, oh, they're doing this to me, they're against me. Well, when everybody that you are involved with is is against you, that's when we need to look at and say, maybe it's us. Maybe it's us that's the problem, not everybody else. So I kind of flipped my perspective, and that helped me a lot in this process. Also, I got in touch with my mental health. I went to mental health counseling. I still have my mental health counselor. She told me I was done with my treatment, and we did my treatment plan, and I said, I'm not ready. I still need to call you when I need to call you. And she said, that's fine. That's fine. I still utilize those resources. My family, who I always had troubles with and always had drama with and always thought was against me. My mom's my best friend now. And I can tell her anything. I open up and I'm honest with her about things. And as much as I think sometimes it's uncomfortable for her to hear, she respects it. And because she sees who I am now. Um, you know, I love the fact that I can help people every day. I'm a CRS now. Something I, 5 years ago, if you would ask me if this would be my job, I'd been like, no one wants advice from me, but I'm living it. Um, I've got accepted into college, something. I dropped out in 10th grade, and I was horrible in school. I never paid attention, but now with my sobriety, I have so much more self-worth, and I respect myself, and I know that I'm capable of a lot. So I'm going to put myself to that test, and sobriety has given me that um, self-worth. Um, all things are possible. I lean very high. I lean a lot on my higher power. Um, I go to Bible study. I go to church. I've learned a lot from being accepted. I was always afraid I won't be accepted. Look at me. The church will fall down on top of me if I go in there. And I've been welcomed, and because I'm honest about things, and I'm honest about my story then and my story now. I'm proud of who I am. Honesty was a huge thing for me in the beginning of my recovery this time because I was such a liar. And I would lie about, you say, did you take that cookie? I said, no, but I got crumbs on my face, but I was a compulsive liar. So now, this time in my recovery, that was my first goal, is to be honest. As uncomfortable as it may make me feel, I'm going to be upfront and honest. You ask me a question, I'm an open book, because hiding things is is not that's not beneficial to your recovery. So being honest and upfront is the best. Um, I appreciate this opportunity to share my story, and I hope that it gives somebody some experience, strength, and hope. And just know that there's hope. I was somebody who was stuck in a drug addiction for 15 years. I lived in my car. I ate garbage off the floor of my car because I didn't have food. I didn't I didn't have friends. I didn't have resources. And now I do. I have family. I have friends. I have a whole, I have a team of people that help me when needed. And the main point of that is knowing when to ask. I used to think asking for help was a weakness. I thought it was meant that I was a failure. It meant me saying, "Hey, I'm weak. I can't do it." Asking for help is a strength. It takes so much strength to say, "I need help." And it makes you a strong person to say, "Hey, I need help here. I need your advice. I need your help. I need, just somebody to vent to." That is important in recovery. So I'd like to thank the Susquehanna County Recovery Alliance for letting me tell my story. And I just wanted to let anybody know that's struggling that there is help, there is hope. All you need to do is just reach out. If I can do this, anybody can. There is hope in recovery.